أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا وحبيبنا ومولانا محمد صلى الله تعالى عليه وسلم وعلى آله وصحابه ومن اهتدى بهداه إلى يوم الدين وإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله تعالى عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي ربي لا تؤاخذني مما يقولون واغفر لي ما لا يعلمون وجعلني خيرا مما يظنون. Amma ba'd. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Welcome one more time to the house of dua, and welcome to another blessed day of Jummah in the year 1446 after the hijrah of Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. Welcome to the channel from which to learn about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, about his creation, about his message, about his messenger, and of course, about his chosen religion known as al-Islam. And welcome to the channel from which you learn how to live and be happy in the world we live today, and how to return back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for greater happiness and success on the day of accountability. My dear brothers, my dear sisters, today we are back to the beat, continuing our exploration of the lessons we can learn from Surah al-Hujuraat. Surah al-Hujuraat is chapter 49 of the Holy Quran. It's a surah that is commonly referred to as the Surah of Etiquette for the believers. It contains moral lessons, lessons between us and those who live on this planet, lessons that will be of benefit to us within ourselves and between us and others, and lessons that we can learn about our relationships with our leaders, how to respect one another in the society in order for all of us to be happy. Imagine if everyone in the world were to adhere to the verses of Surah al-Hujuraat. The whole world will be better for all of us. My dear brothers, my dear sisters, today we are coming to you with verse 13 of this great surah. Verse number 13 of this great surah contains a verse like no other verse, by which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala demolishes most of the assumptions we have in life as human beings. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us and brought us to this life. He differentiated us, gave us opportunity to live where we live. He created an open space for us and expect that we should treat one another in the best way. And we should learn from one another. But unfortunately, that's not the way it is in the world we live. There are certain basic assumptions, and of course, incorrect assumptions that we make as human beings, as a result of which the relationship we expect to thrive between us does not thrive. My dear brothers, my dear sisters, it's important for us to pay attention to this great verse. In previous verses, we have explained the commandment of Allah on how to honor those who are leaders. Beginning from the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam, the best of Allah's creation and the most honored of Allah's messengers. And we have brought you verses that announce to us the need for us to verify information before we act on them, so that we don't hurt innocent people about news we receive about them. We brought information on how to settle disputes among us, for those who are called upon to intervene to make sure they are fair and just. And we brought information that we must not ridicule one another through nicknames, or through backbiting, or through spying, or through blackmail and slander. If all of us were to, adhere to these basic principles, then life will be sweet for everyone. Today, we're taking a step further to announce the verse in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala remind us of where we come from, why we are where we are, and where we are expected to be after our existence on this planet. As human beings, we have basic assumptions that are not only erroneous, but they are potentially dangerous to our relationship. The first of such assumptions is the claim by scientists that all of us are a product of cell evolution. In other words, we came here by chance. But in this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, no, that's not the case. Actually, He created all of us. The second assumption is that whatever we're able to accomplish in this world is based on our inherent powers and capabilities. Our success, therefore, depends on our ability to adjust to the environment in which we live. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that's not the case. He provides to everyone on the planet. He elevates some more than others. And in spite of the fact that He has differentiated us into different regions and parts and has created us in different appearances, but yet we are the same. We are equal. We are equal in many respects. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says it's equally wrong for us to think that honor should be based on one's material worthiness. In the world we live, we honor those who are rich, who are properly positioned, those who are doing better than us. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, again, that is not the case. So in this verse, there are powerful messages that we need to learn. First of all, let's recite the verse. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Ya ayyuhan nas. Inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa untha. وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ شُعُوبًا وَقَبَائِلَ لِتَعَارَفُوا إِنَّ أَكْرَمَكُمْ عِندَ اللَّهِ أَتْقَاكُمْ إِنَّ اللَّهَ عَلِيمٌ خَبِيرٌ. In the entire Surah al-Hujuraat, this is the only verse that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addressed to the entire mankind. In other verses, it is to the attention of those who believe. In this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, O you mankind, we have created you from a pair of souls, a man and a woman, Adam alayhi salam and Hawa alayhi salam. And we created you and brought you to this planet and dispersed you into different nations and tribes. And we do so in order for you to be able to identify one another, to discover the uniqueness in one another. But in spite of the fact that we are different in many respects, yet we are all equal. And the best way to measure who is honorable among us is to look at the moral compass of that person, the person's consciousness of Allah, his relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. My dear brothers, my dear sisters, let's try as much as possible to break down this verse. First of all, Allah has rejected the claim of the scientists that we came here by chance through cell evolution. He declared, Inna khalaqnakum. It is we that created all of you. And He had made it clear that He brought us to this planet through the intercourse of a man and a woman. That is Adam and Hawa. Again, this is a demolition of those who claim that there is an in-between between a man and a woman, which they call the transgender. And again, in this part of the verse, Allah makes it clear that it is the intercourse between a man and a woman that results in the birth of any child, including all of us. So there is nothing like same-sex marriage. There is nothing like a man being able to bear children through another man, or a woman being able to bear children through another woman. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, we disperse you to different nations, different tribes. Apart from that, You differentiated you, even the way you look. Take a look at yourselves. Different in many respects, in our appearances, in our heights, in our sizes, in our colors, in our tongues, in our ability to reason. And yet, we are equal before Allah. And we're also equal in terms of what is inside each and every one of us. We are the same in many respects. We, as human beings, are subject to the same challenges and weaknesses. We eat. We cannot survive without eating. We sleep, and we cannot survive without sleeping. We sometimes get sick. So the fact that you are having a white color, the other person having black color, the other person having brown color, it's immaterial in the sight of Allah. This is the message Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to understand. And it says, Inna akramakum inda Allahi atqakum. All of you may be categorizing yourself in the hierarchical order or giving some attention to some more than others. The world we live, there are people who are, because of the skin color they have, they think they are better than others. Or because of their social position in society, they think they are better than others. Or because of the way they speak, the tongue, the language they have, they are better than others. Or because of the location they live, they are better than others. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says no. Those are just means of identification. Take a look at the environment around you. Take a look at the different countries. Take a look at the human beings and the kind of languages they speak and the way they dress and the way they worship and the way they think and the way they do things. The cultures, they are different. But in spite of these differences, every human being is subject to the same needs and aspirations and challenges. Need to eat, need to sleep, need to have sex, need to have children, need to have success in life, and so on and so on. We can go on naming them. This is the amazing part of the creation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not expect us to take advantage of these differentiations we have to divide ourselves and to arrogate to ourselves the fact that one is better than the other. That is not the case. My dear brothers, my dear sisters, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, instead of basing who is honorable or not honorable, who is successful and not successful on material considerations such as wealth, such as social positions, such as the skin color, and so on and so forth. In fact, the most honored among all of you is one who has the consciousness of Allah. So this is a verse, therefore, that establishes the principle of equality among human beings. Yes, there is no human being that is more important than the other. You may look at somebody to be poor, but in the sight of Allah, that person is far, far greater than the one who is looking at him or her to be poor. And you may look at somebody to be very honorable, highly placed, rich, deserving honor, such as kings, such as presidents, such as commanders-in-chief, such as other leaders or CEOs. But when it comes to who is honorable and who is not honorable, you may find out that such people that you are looking at to be honorable are in fact dishonorable. My dear brothers, my dear sisters, it is important for us to look at the revelation of this verse and the circumstances in which it was revealed in order for us to understand the context of the verse. According to the hadith narrated by Ibn Abbas, this verse, because of the importance it has for our lives, is one of the verses revealed on different occasions. In order for Allah to drive the message home that before Him, all of us are equal. Let us look at some of the occasions. According to Ibn Abbas, one day the Prophet was in the masjid leading prayers, and a man came to the masjid to sit down. There was another man there known as Tabidi Case. He began to insult the man. He called the man the son of a dog. Why? Because the man was different from him in terms of skin color. He was of white color and the man was of dark color. The Prophet took a look at him and said, "Who made that statement?" Tabidi Case said, I'm the one, Ya Rasulullah. He said, take a look at everybody in the masjid. What did you see? He said, I saw the white, the black, the brown, and so on and so forth. He said, how do you know which of them is better? Well, I don't know. Just as the Prophet was asking him that question, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Jibril alayhi salam to tell Tabib in case, Inna akramakum inda Allahi atkakum. The most honored among you in the sight of Allah is the one who has the consciousness of Allah. And the hadith narrated by Al-Muqatil, radiallahu anhu. One day, this was during Fatih Makkah, that is victory over Makkah. The Prophet came to the Kaaba, and when it was time to pray, he called on Bilal ibn Rabah radiallahu anhu and Habashi, the only black one in the inner caucus of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam, and who happened to have the privilege of being the mu'adhin of the Prophet. The man that the Prophet one day told, Ya Bilal, Samitu dafana aleka bena yadeya fil Jannah. I heard your footsteps in Jannah, which means Bilal ibn Rabah was one of those who received the news on this planet that they were going to Jannah. But on that day when the Prophet visited the Kaaba during Fatih Makkah, he called on Bilal ibn Rabah to climb the top of the Kaaba and give adhan. But people of Makkah were shocked. They began to pass comments about it. Somebody like Atta bin Asid declared, I thank God that my father has died before this kind of thing had happened. And another person known as Al-Harith ibn Hisham declared, does it mean that the Prophet could not see any other human being to give adhan except this dark crow? Astaghfirullah. That was how bad-mouthed these people were. And Abu Sufyan, who was then the king of Makkah before the victory over Makkah, told himself, well, I'm not going to say anything, because whatever I say, the Lord of the heavens will hear me. So they were passing bad comments why the Prophet should leave them who were the Arabs, white-skinned, and went ahead to choose Bilal ibn Rabah radiallahu anhu to give the adhan. Why this was going on, Jibril alayhi salam was sent by Allah to tell the Prophet what people were saying. So the Prophet called them and asked them, did you really say things like this? They say, yes. Why? Because we didn't see any reason why you should choose Bilal ibn Rabah over us. The Prophet recited the verse, Ya ayyuhan nas, inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa untha, وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم إن الله عليم خبير. The Prophet told them, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as far as he is concerned, does not judge by your own assessment, by the parameters that you have looked at. He does not judge by the skin color. He does not judge by status in life. He judges by what you are in terms of your relationship with Allah. Again, in the hadith narrated by Abu Huraira, the Prophet said, Inna Allah la yanzuru ila suwarikum wa amwalukum. Inna ma yanzuru ila qulubikum wa amalikum. Allah does not judge by your outward appearance and by your word, but he judges by your inner heart as well as your deeds. My dear brothers, my dear sisters, in another narration by a man known as Yazid ibn as-Sajjara, he narrated that one day the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam was passing through a market in Medina, and he saw an auction going on, a slave being auctioned, a black slave. And the owner of the slave said he needed the highest bidder. But the slave asked for permission to speak, and he declared whoever was going to buy him must buy him on a condition. And those who were bidding said, what kind of condition? He said the person who was going to buy him must give him permission to pray the 5 daily prayers behind the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. And the man agreed to do so and bought him on that condition. So this slave was always going to the masjid, praying behind the Prophet. One day the Prophet noticed that he was not there. The Prophet was very sensitive to whoever came to the masjid. He would know the position of each and every Musalli who came to the masjid. So he asked, where is this man who used to sit here? They told him that the man wasn't feeling well. He said, after the prayer, all of us will go and see him. So he led them to the man's house, found that he was seriously sick. So he made dua for him and came back. The following day, the man still didn't come to the masjid. The next Juma, the Prophet asked again, where is this man? They told him his condition had worsened and he was almost dying. The Prophet, after the Salah, decided to lead them to the place to greet the man again. But on getting there, the man had passed away. The Prophet rolled up his sleeves. He gave out money to buy a shroud, asked for water. He gave janaza baths to this person, shrouded him, put him in a coffin, and loaded him and placed it on his shoulder. Say, follow me, let's go and bury him. The people were shocked. They asked the Prophet, Sallallahu Ta'ala Alaihi Wasallam, what is special about this person? What is special about this person? Those who migrated from Makkah, they began to tell the Prophet, we migrated from Makkah with you and suffered with you. You have never given us this kind of honor. And the people of Medina, the outside of Medina, the same thing. They said, we were the one who gave you opportunity to have peace in Medina. We have never received this kind of honor. What is special about this man? Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Jibril alayhi salam with this verse. Ya ayyuhan nas, inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa untha وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم. The Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam told each and every one of them, you may have looked down on this man based on his skin color, but in the sight of Allah, he was one of the most elevated among you. And so they buried the man. And the Prophet told them never to judge people by their skin color or by their status in the society or by any other material consideration. My dear brothers, my dear sisters, these are some of the occasions in which this verse was sent down to drive a message to us that we must not discriminate against people. So those who are parading around today, who are advancing the concept of racism and promoting discrimination in public places and trying to show off that they are better than other people, they are in fact in the wrong position and they should be corrected. We might differ in terms of our material possessions, but when it comes to the issue of honor and the issue of who is better in the sight of Allah, we find out that those we look down upon may actually be better. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows the taqwa, the level of piety of all of us. And finally, by his own example, the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam time and time again demonstrated to us that racism, bigotry, discrimination have no place in Islam. In his final address to all of us before he passed away, this was the address delivered during his only one and final Hajj at the vicinity of the Arafah. He declared, La farad al-Arabiya al-Ajami, wala al-Ajamiya al-Arabi, wala fadla al-Abyad al-Aswad, wala al-Aswad al-Abyad, illa bi-taqwa. No Arab is superior to the non-Arab, and no non-Arab is superior to the Arab. No white is superior to the non-white, and no non-white is superior to the white. The issue of superiority is based on taqwa, the consciousness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. By that, he encourages all of us to develop taqwa, because that is the only way by which we can gain Jannah. He was asked, according to the hadith narrated by Abu Hurairah, Ya Rasulallah, tell us the two qualities that those who will enter Jannah need to possess. He told them, Taqwa Allah wa husnul khuluq, fear of Allah and the best conduct. May Allah make us among those who have the best conduct. My dear brothers, my dear sisters, verse 13 of Surah al-Hujuraat is a great verse, and we need to abide by the principles enunciated in that verse. We ask Allah to guide us to the straight path. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت الغفور الكريم وأنا لا وبحمدك ونك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك الحمد لله.